Hello, everyone, and welcome to the National Inventor Club. My name is Brian Freed. I'm the founder, and we have a very exciting lineup tonight. We have the John Tesh, which I'll explain everything that he's done, and I'm sure he's going to tell us more about what he's done from what I have. We have Elizabeth Doherty from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office Innovation Outreach Team, and we have Erica Chase Gregory from the Farmingdale State College Small Business Development Center, a division of the Small Business Administration. And then we have a special guest, Bonnie Graham. She's called Radiohead, and she's got some good stuff happening too. So we will get everybody going, and then we'll have some Q&A at the end for Mr. Tesh and any general invention information. And actually, I'd like to just make a couple quick announcements. First off, I'm really excited about this. All the members, all the premium members of National Inventor Club, you get to have your intro when you're presenting for the first time as a new member. You get to be part of an inventor showcase. You get one of these National Inventor Club t-shirts. And for the latest feature that we have, becoming a premium member, right after the meeting, for those of you who are premium paid members, you're getting a link, or you have a link already, to an after meeting networking event. So you'll be part of that. So right after the meeting ends, shoot over to the other link, and we will see you on the networking event. Okay. Also, another quick announcement. Booked already February's meeting. February 24th is ThomasNet. Everybody's heard of the old Thomas Registry back in the day? Well, Thomas Registry is online, thomasnet.com. And if you're looking to source U.S. manufacturers, suppliers, distributors, great resource. They're going to teach us how to navigate through their website and find all different types of resources to help us with our invention and keep it moving forward. All right, so let's get on with our program. Let's start off with Erica Chase Gregory. Let's get you right into the meeting. First off, let's say hi to everybody. How you doing? Thank you all for joining us. All right, let's have Erica, if you can tell us some great information and resources from the Small Business Development Center.
Sure. Thank you so much, Brian. Good evening, everyone. Like Brian said, my name is Erica Chase Gregory. I'm the director of the Small Business Development Center at Farmingdale State College. We are just one of thousands of SBDCs across the nation. We are part of the network of the America's SBDC, which is ASBDC. What we do, we have every one of us has one thing in common. We help small businesses either just starting or expanding their business. We give one-on-one free counseling to anyone who has any sort of question or needing any assistance to get their business and their products and their service out to the marketplace. So with that said, I wanted to tell this group tonight about grants. It's one of the top 3 questions that I get. Where can I get a grant for my business? Grants are very hard to come by, no lie. Typically, small businesses are for profit, for themselves, thinking about their profiting for their business owners and their shareholders. But inventors certainly are one of the groups that can access grant money. So if your invention has a strong social benefit to it, or has a mission to help society at large in some way, it is definitely worth taking a look into grants aimed at social entrepreneurs. The number one website that you can search for grants is grants.gov. You can do a simple search on there. There's a keyword search section in that website. You can put in some keywords about your invention, and you'll see if there are grants out there, whether they're from the federal government or foundations will list grant opportunities that have a social aspect to them. So again, thinking about your invention as a part of the larger society benefit is really important, and then you can connect with some grants. The federal government has a grant program aimed at entrepreneurs, inventors. It's called the SBIR, which is a small business innovation, research program. It's a very highly competitive grant program. However, the federal government looks to our small business community for research and development. So whether you're in the beginning stages of that research and development, you can look for grant money through this competitive process through the SBIR program. We help you at the SBDC, connect you. Sometimes we have in New York State, we have a program that can connect you with consultants to help you write that grant. But it is something for you to start your invention, to get that research and development out there. Again, the government is looking for the small business community to really search for products and new innovations to set the new products into commercialization. So just think about connecting with the Small Business Development Center in your area. You can reach out to me. I will put into the chat how to connect with an SBDC. We can find one close to you, and you can start researching if there are grants out there for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Erica.
You're welcome.
And by the way, the Small Business Development Center is located, and you can find one in many colleges right by you. Free services, free support, free resources. Like it's unbelievable. Like if you needed to find local an engineer, or maybe to work with the college engineering department, they help you. If you're looking to kind of like format a business plan, they have templates, great resources. Everything is free. You could go to America's SBDC, or you can email Erica or get in touch with Erica at Farmingdale State College Small Business Development Center. Thank you, Erica, for being a sponsor of National Inventor Club, and thank you for all you do for the small businesses out there. You're saving them during these times as well. Thank you again.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me, Brian.
Thank you. Okay, let's have Elizabeth Doherty. She is from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. And John, we're going to put you backstage for a second so we can speak to Elizabeth. Okay, so Elizabeth, very interesting career that you've had at U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and a proud supporter, and thank you always for contributing to National Inventor Club. I know you have some great information to share with us. If you can kind of introduce yourself and your team, and share some resources that are available for us.
Thank you, Brian, and good evening to you and all of your audience that are here with us this evening. It's always an honor and a pleasure to join Brian in any of his endeavors, and especially with the National Inventors Club. I am so pleased to be part of such an exciting lineup tonight, although I know myself and the others are just the appetizers to the fantastic John Tesh. What a wonderful evening you have ahead. I have to comment that I am so pleased to also follow Erica. I am a strong advocate and proponent of the SBDC network, and it's something that my team and I collaborate with a great deal. So as Brian said, my name is Liz Doherty, 30-year veteran of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and I currently serve as the USPTO's Eastern Regional Outreach Director. And in that role, I help engage with the stakeholders of the 17 states of the East Coast, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico. So I'm particularly proud to be able to work with Brian and know and love that Long Island area, although I know many of you are calling in and participating from across the nation. I do have a few tidbits of information this evening, and my team and I are always thrilled to come on each and every month to share with you new news, programs, and initiatives of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. And I'm going to give you 4 quick nuggets because I know that time is ticking away for this evening's program. First of which is we are awaiting with bated breath the arrival of a new director, a new Undersecretary of Commerce for Intellectual Property, and Kathy Vidal has passed through the Senate Judiciary Committee process. She has received her approval. However, she now must go on to a full Senate approval. And we don't know what day that's going to be. It could be this month, it could be February, it could be March. But just to let you know, we are awaiting political leadership and hope that that's going to be resolved here very, very shortly to bring a new leadership into the office because it's now been over a year since we've had that leadership with us. Although we've certainly kept the trains running and the patents issuing and trademarks being registered. I would like to because you're tuned in tonight because you are interested to educate and inform yourself. Let me tell you about a couple of upcoming programs of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office that you might be interested in. On January 25th, we are going to have an IP workshop for K through 12 educators. So if you're a teacher who's looking to enhance your ability to teach intellectual property information to your students, please come and join us for that free program. It's an evening program. And we're going to have some really great resources provided there, again, for our K through 12 educators. We can't start too early in educating our youth about being inventors, innovators, and entrepreneurs. On January 26th, we are having USPTO's Liquid Capital Data Resources for Inventors. The USPTO has a wide array of data information available for inventors to both see patent landscapes, to research patent documents. Come tune in for that lecture as well. These are all virtual lectures, and you can find them on our events page of the uspto.gov. Last but not least, we also have upcoming Together in Innovation, which is the start of a year-long series. This one is going to be focused on inner space and outer space. How exciting! We are going to have a college collegiate inventors competition team participating who have invented a new medical device, the Nano Dropper, and they will be complemented by 2 members of the Crew Dragon space capsule, the inspiration for private orbital space flight. So be sure to join us for that. It's going to prove to be a lot of fun. I do want to whet your appetite with something that is coming from the USPTO, yet to be announced and arrive, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret information. We have a new patent search tool coming out, and it's called PPUBs. The remarkable thing about PPUBs is it is something you can search from your home computer. You will no longer need to go into the USPTO headquarters or regional office or even a PTRC to get to use a tool that's nearly identical to what our US patent examiners are using. Last but not least, I have one last piece of information, and it's a little bit niche, so I saved it till the end. We have just announced and are kicking off a new pilot program starting February 1st and running through July 31st called the Deferred Subject Matter Eligibility Response Pilot. Long title, we're the government. It is addressing concerns and a request from Senators Tom Tillis and Tom Cotton, who would like the USPTO to take a closer look at 35 USC 101 rejections. What is eligible to be patented? So in this deferred examination pilot program, applicants are going to have the opportunity to be invited by a participating examiner to have that subject matter deferred for examination until all other issues are resolved in the case. No, it sounds a little complex, but you can find information on it on our website. Again, a Federal Register notice just went out about this pilot, and again, it will start February 1st. Scott, again, I want to thank Brian for being so kind and so generous to invite the USPTO to participate each and every month. And I wish you all a wonderful show this evening. I can't wait to hear the rest of our speakers.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Appreciate all your support out there for all the inventors and the innovators. And I'm sure John Tesh has used USPTO a couple times for trademarks and copyrights and everything else. So thank you again. We appreciate it.
Good night.
Good
Enjoy.
night. Thank you. Okay, let's have Bonnie. Hello, Bonnie.
Hi, Brian. You want to stay on with me side by side so I can be talking to you instead of the great abyss? Is that okay?
Let's do it. Absolutely.
Okay.
Well,
Go ahead. I met you in New York when I was on Long Island, and I had a TV show called Something to Talk About, and somehow we connected, and you brought some very interesting new inventors to my show. We had a panel discussion. Remember?
We had a great time. Yes,
We
of course.
did.
And you've always been a great supporter of the innovation inventor community. And we were chatting, and you had an opportunity for my audience, and
I
love to
do.
hear it.
I do. Thank you very much. Lipstick on teeth. Come off. Sorry about that. And I enjoyed your first two speakers, and I hope I get to hear John Tesh. I said, "Are you the real John Tesh?" And I think he said yes. So I'm Bonnie D. Graham, a.k.a. Radio Red. I'm not Radiohead. I think that was a rock and roll group. I'm Radio Red, and that's my other name. I am an inventor, talking to your audience, not of products, not of solutions, but I'm a media inventor. Since 2010, I have created, produced, and hosted 52 different radio series, not all at the same time, usually 10 to 15 a year. And all over the world, I have listeners, about 4 million listeners since 2018 to my shows. Most of my shows are business shows, Brian, as you know, thought leadership, no pay for play. And I work with some of the biggest companies in the world. About 2 years ago, I turned one of my main shows into, I'm going to duck down so everybody can see. If you can read between the lines, that's Technology Revolution, the Future of Now. And I've invited Brian, but he's not available. I have an opening on March 16th, and this I'm talking to all of you, and you're going to email Brian if you're interested and available. I'm looking for 4 or 5, there we go, up 4 or 5 inventors who are not afraid of being on the radio. My shows are live radio, most of them. You're going to be live streamed on LinkedIn and on Facebook, and live broadcast audio on Voice America Business Channel. That's the production company I use. Don't let America fool you. It's not the Voice of America. That's the U.S. government. CIA's been broadcasting for years. We're not that. We're Voice America Business Channel, and it'll be Wednesday, March 16th. Sign into Zoom. It's all done on Zoom at 10:45 Eastern Time. I'm in North Carolina now, Brian. Eastern Time, and we're on live from 11 a.m. till 12. And here's the deal. It's a show about predictions, technology revolution, the future of now. I'm looking for 4 or 5 people who can articulate your thoughts, your predictions, not just about what you're going to be doing, but at a big thought leadership level of the future of inventors, inventions, and technology. So if you think you can put together 4 sentences, and there's a jot form to fill out, it's an easy click for when Brian and I pick the panel. It's an easy click, and I will collect your bio and upload your photo and a fictional movie or TV quote from a character in a movie or TV show, or a song lyric that has nothing to do with what you do, and you're going to relate it to the topic of inventors and inventions, and 4 predictions. And Brian, if I may, I'll just give one example. A great movie quote people are using are from Back to the Future, 1985 sci-fi, when Emmett Doc Brown said, "Where we're going, we won't need roads." Think about that. And Marty McFly said something like, you don't know what this is about, but your kids are going to love it. So think about pushing into the future through a movie quote. The show is a lot of fun. It's a round table. All my shows are round tables. I don't do one-on-one interviews. Again, it's Technology Revolution, the Future of Now. And if you want to check it out, go to voiceamerica.com. and put in Technology Revolution in the search box, and you'll see I've already got hundreds of episodes. I would love to have 4 articulate, outspoken inventors. We're not going to do politics. We're not going to do religion. We're not going to talk about what you're doing, but the bigger picture of the future of inventors, inventions, and I want to relate it to some kind of technology. Brian, any questions you have for me?
Perfect. If you want to be part of Bonnie's show, you can email me, brian@nationalinventorclub.com, or if you have my personal email, brianfried@gmail.com. All right. Thank you very much, Bonnie.
It's been a pleasure.
Doing what you're doing. Thank you for supporting the innovation community out there.
My pleasure. Can't wait to meet some of your members and get them even more famous on live stream Zoom and on live radio. I'm looking forward. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate the opportunity.
Very much, Bonnie. Thank you. Bonnie's a rip. I've been on her show a couple times and a lot of fun. Now she's in North Carolina, so I miss her. But if you want to be part of the show, just email me, and we'll put you into the queue. All right. So I know this is January. It's the 19th. We're in 2022. So I'm driving, and I said, you know what? We need, and this was in December. We need a pump up rah-rah type of inspirational meeting for January. I know we hear from engineers and prototypers and Alibaba, and we've had some phenomenal guests last year. But to start off the year, I'd like to have just some inspiration, something, whether it's life, business, your invention. Maybe we're stuck at some point. We want to get unstuck. And I was driving, I heard the radio, and there it goes again. Intelligence for Your Life. I'm listening to the radio every couple minutes. There's a break, and his syndicated show, Intelligence for Your Life, the John Tesh show, comes up, giving some great information. And I said, I know my audience would love this. National Inventor Club would love this. So I called up his agent and gave him a quick pitch on what we do and what we're about. And he said, I love it. Let's do it. So here we are. We have John Tesh. How you doing, John?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you so much for showing up tonight, being a guest here with us. You're a true inspiration to many, many people. Even before we started this meeting, one of my friends just was ecstatic to meet you. So thank you again for doing what you do.
My pleasure.
John, you have a tremendous bio. I think when I first, or before I was calling you to come on here, I did some research, and I think maybe it was like 4 pages of a bio to be able to explain to you. But I'm sure by now, doing what you do, you probably have a good summary to be able to remind everybody of what you've done, if you don't mind. I mean, it's really about all the things that you've kind of done in your career. Along the way, you've really invented, not only yourself, theme songs to a National Basketball Association, NBA. I mean, every time I put on my the New York Knicks, I'm a Knicks fan. I get to hear your song all the time. I know that you sold tons of records, and you've come up with music, and you were an actor on Star Trek and an anchor on Entertainment Tonight, an Olympic host. You've had 25 years of and 50 plus recordings in the music and broadcast career. You sold 8 million records. I know you're from Long Island. You're from Garden City, and you're in California now. But maybe you can just kind of remind everybody of who you are and what you're about, and then we could get into just getting into everybody's brain. And John, we look at things in a certain way, and sometimes we just are stuck in that way. And if you take a step back and you look to the left and right, there are other opportunities and other options out there. And sometimes we don't realize that.
Yeah,
And there's just, no matter what, if it's just one way of looking at something, there is another way. And that's what you're going to do if you can help us tonight. So if you don't mind just giving us a quick intro, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, sure. I mean, when we were first talking, I said, well, I'm not an inventor. Then I was talking to my son who works with me on the air. His name is Gib, and he calls me Pop because I'm the grandpa to his 3 kids. And he was like, let me just list some of the things that you invented. And so it's, I think what's important to remember is that you mentioned it. I grew up in a place called Garden City, which is right around from where you grew up. And I was born in 1952. And during that period of time, there, of course, there wasn't any internet. There was no cell phones. There was one phone in the house, that kind of thing. So I was a very skinny, scrawny, just not attractive kid with braces and acne, Clearasil all over me. And my dad was, he was from World War II. He was an amphibious assault commander in the Navy. And so, I was the 3rd kid. I was 11 years younger than my 2 sisters. And so when I came along, it was like, oh gosh, here we go again. So, they put me in this finished basement. I spent most of my time there, where my dad and mom were like throwing parties and stuff like that. And, back in the day, your parents didn't know everything about you. The rule was that you go about your business, and then you come home when the street lights are on, So I was left, and since I was not one of the popular kids in Garden City High School, which is a powerful high school to this day, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute because it has bearing on this. I spent a lot of time in the basement tinkering, and so I bought a Heathkit radio project and made my own radio broadcast station. I had a reel-to-reel tape recorder that my dad had bought, and there was a piano down there. So I was always making things and creating things and just trying somehow to get noticed, right? And then, Garden City, even if you look at it now, it's really a performing arts school. I didn't realize that when I was in it, but the opportunities for being in a band, being in a garage band, I was the editor of the college, the photo editor of the high school. yearbook. And so there were a lot of opportunities to be creative in that time. But I do think that I had the gift of imperfection, where I just wasn't great in school. I was okay. I was sort of scared of my own shadow. And I know there are people who are watching right now who understand that, because back in the day, being a geek, being a dork, being the kid like me that brought the projector to the science class, it wasn't cool. It wasn't cool to be in a marching band. I was in that too. Nowadays, all those things are cool, but it also enabled you to sort of trying to develop a way out, invent yourself, so to speak. And so when I went to college, my parents stuck me at North Carolina State to study textile chemistry because my dad worked for Haynes, and I was just miserable. And so I took a radio and television course, and I got bit by that bug, where you could work for one day and you could turn something in. And so I wanted to change my major, and I went to all of my professors to sign the drop ad card, because I was past the drop ad date. And this is actually, I wrote a book called Relentless, and this story is in there in more detail, because it's important to what happened to me. And one of my teachers wouldn't sign the drop ad card, and so on advice from a fraternity brother, I forged his signature on the drop ad card. And as luck would have it, he found out. He reported me to the university. I was thrown out on an honor code violation. I was suspended indefinitely. And then my parents, which didn't surprise me, my dad threw me out of the house. And so at 19 and a half years old, I was homeless, living in a park in Raleigh, North Carolina. And when you get to that point, and you can get to that point in many different ways. You can be stuck mentally, you can be stuck spiritually, you can be stuck physically. I was stuck in all of those those areas. And so I realized after about 3 months in the tent that my dream at that moment was to get into the media, and that I had to find a way to get into a radio station. And every station I went to said, you need a demo tape. And I didn't have a demo tape because I didn't have a job. It was really a catch-22. And so I found a way to break into the campus radio lab, because I was already a criminal. And I made a fake demo tape where I did the traffic report. Hey, this is John Tesh, WKIX 2020 News. And I held my nose and did the imitations of all the correspondence and all of that. And I took that tape, and it was one of those things of, I went overboard. I did a 30-minute demo tape doing all the voices. I did the theme on the piano. I used a typewriter to make it sound like a teletype, and did it all live into a reel-to-reel tape. And then I took that tape to radio stations, to 10 radio stations. And I got a call about a month later from a guy named Scott White, who I still stay in touch with. And he said, "Is this John Tesh?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, there was laughter in the background. And he said, "Did you make all these noises and do all this stuff on this tape?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, if you want a job that badly, I'll give you a job playing the religious tapes on Sunday mornings from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. And I got my foot in the door. And, long story short, 36 months after that, I was a CBS News correspondent in the same building as Walter Cronkite at 23 years old in New York City. And the reason I tell you that story, and I tell this story on stage when I'm in concert too, is that there is a way in. You have to figure out what the way in is, and then you have to do the work. Because there are plenty of people who will go and they'll go say, "I need a job, and these are my," but when you show up with something and people are able to see your grit and your persistence, and those of you who are watching, I'm going to mention a couple of books that can really change your life. So you should be writing them down, because they're really quite amazing. One of them is called Focus by Al Reese. The other is Differentiate or Die. Differentiate or Die by Jack Trout is a way to figure out which lane you should be in, whether you're an inventor or you're a songwriter or you're an author. And nowadays, right, Brian, nowadays you can use Keyword Explorer or TubeBuddy or vidIQ on YouTube, and you can see what's going on, and you can see what's being overserved, superserved, and you can whatever you are interested in, you can see if there's a tangent, if there's an intersection between what you're interested in and what's popular right now. So these are amazing tools that didn't exist back in the day.
It's very interesting, and that's the thing. You have certain points in your life that you need to make decisions for. So you had that aha moment where you had to make a change. And many of us, John, we come up with an idea. It's not like we woke up and said, we're going to be an inventor and this is our full-time job. This is something that we have our careers, we have things that are going on in our life, and we come up with this invention. And now it's something that maybe it can change our life. Is it something that could be residual income for us? Is it something that can actually be our full-blown income? And then we have to make some decisions on what we're going to do and going through those steps. So just like you had to get yourself up to move your idea of what you wanted to do forward. That's what we have to do. Again, whether it's anything in life or business or your invention, just picking that lane. And I know that one of the audience members that are on, Sean Taylor, she always says, I'm in my lane. I'm going in my lane, right, Sean? I see you on here. So
I'll tell you that I have a friend, my wife and I met, and my daughter met a kid named Lin-Manuel Miranda after we saw a Broadway show that he won a Tony for called In the Heights. And then I got invited to go to the Public Theater in New York a few years back to see 250 people watch Hamilton. And I went backstage and talked to him. And I mean, it was like, he's like, what did you think? Do you think we have something? And I'm like, what? You have Sergeant Pepper's is what you have, right here. But he did an interview on 60 Minutes, which is exactly what you were just talking about, where he was asked, there's so many, when you went to school at Hunter College, there were so many kids and there's so many people in the theater business that have so much more experience than you and have so much more success. Why you? Why did you end up creating this thing that's bigger than any show that's ever been on Broadway? And he said, I picked a lane. And I didn't come out of it. And he said, there were times when I wanted to go out with my friends. There were times when I wanted to be with my wife at a dinner party. And there were times when I wanted to get more than 3 hours of sleep. But I knew that I had something, and I stayed in the lane and I made that commitment. So Angela Duckworth wrote a book called Grit, which I highly recommend. And,
that's a good one.
And there's another part of my life where in 2015 I was given 18 months to live with a horrible cancer diagnosis. And so the same lane that I chose to get out of that pup tent and get onto to CBS News and to do a public television special when nobody would sign me up on their record label, and a public television special that we raised $20 million for public television and started my music career. But it was that same grit and persistence that I had to use with my wife as my advocate to get on the other side of cancer. And so the picking the lane thing is a great metaphor, because if you could stay in that lane, and then you can also see the finish line, and you have to be able to visualize that finish line. I mean, you can really accomplish anything. And I wrote down a few things while you were talking, because, nowadays it's the biggest mistake I think you can make as an inventor or as a creator, which is the same thing, is not understanding that it might be amazing what you've created, but you also have to learn how to be a marketer. You have to learn how to promote. You have to understand everything about all the tools that are available to you, and these are all taught online on YouTube. If you're one of those guys or girls, gals that stays in your basement and invents something that is useful, and you get a trademark and all the rest of that stuff, it's just like me when I was trying to get a record deal. I had released one record. And then I was like, well, why is it not selling? Why is it not in the stores? Well, there's no reason for people to go in there and buy it. Nobody knows anything about it, John. Then it was like, oh gosh, now what I have to do is I have to do what the Three Tenors did or what Yanni did. I have to create an event. And so I think that, the joy of invention, reinvention of a person, or creating something to make the world better or easier for people is great. But understanding how to reach people, maybe with your own podcast or maybe with a YouTube video, or maybe with a Kickstarter campaign, something like that. Those are all things that we all need to know how to do now.
Yeah, there's so many times, John, where people come up with their idea, and like you said, they might lock themselves in a basement, or they have their idea locked in their head, and not really knowing what to do to be able to protect themselves, so that you do the best that you can to protect yourself, to get it out there, to bring it along the steps. Otherwise, it's going to be a couple years later and you're going to see it out there,
Right.
and it's woulda, coulda, shoulda situation. So
Yeah. Yeah.
just
well, and look at one more thing. Look at Steve Jobs, right? Steve Jobs was okay. So he had a lot of he wasn't really a coder, right? But he had a vision for what he wanted to do, but he also learned how to be a master salesman. I mean, he was really like P.T. Barnum, you know. He could sell iPods and all of that stuff before it even existed, you know. And he just knew that he needed to stay in his lane. In fact, he never did any focus grouping for his products. He just said, I know in my heart that this piece of gear, this iPod, it holds 10,000 songs or whatever, is something that people are going to use. And he bet the farm on it, obviously. But then he also knew how to market it.
Between the success that you've had, John, and I know that you have your channel also, where you've interviewed 800 Flowers CEO recently, Jim McCann, and just knowing who you know and interviewing those type of really inspirations to business and the business community. What do you think is kind of like a common trait, and you have all your advice that you give on the radio practically every day, many times a day. What do you think is really the traits to being a successful entrepreneur, inventor? Because really, when we come up with an idea, John, we're almost like we're starting a business. You have your due diligence, you have your research, you have the steps to bring it to a point. You need a plan, right? So it's a business plan. So when you come up with an idea, even if it's from scratch, it's a business. So what do you think is common traits from between your success and others that you can help us with keeping our ideas moving forward?
There's a great book. I said I was going to mention some books. There's a great book called The Pixar Way. It's there are a couple of different books about Pixar, but The Pixar Way is the one that you want. In the Pixar company, they had a ban on whiteboards. You were not allowed to have a whiteboard in your office or anywhere else. Their whole thing was fail quickly, and so all of the pictures that you see. I mean, they threw out Toy Story 2. They tested it. It tested horribly. They threw it out and they started over. They failed quickly and they started over. Their story is all about not only hard work, but turning something in. One of the big mistakes that people I have worked with in the past, I see them making, because I used to make the same mistake, is that they research themselves to death, right? Because if you just keep getting, there's so much research out there now, it's so easy to get to. If you just keep researching, then you don't have to turn it in. You don't have to turn it in because you're not done yet, right? So you just keep. It happens with people writing novels as well. They say, oh, I'm just going to research this character, you know, and then, but if you never turn anything in, and if you don't get that practice, that muscle, then you probably will never make it. So the commonality that I see in a lot of these people that I've interviewed, and listen, I worked for, you know, CBS News for 8 years. I worked for CBS Sports and NBC Sports and the Olympics for 12 years. And so I've interviewed everybody from Franz Klammer to Lance Armstrong and Jimmy Connors and everybody in between, right? There is a sameness to all of these people, because at a certain level, your physical ability is right about the same. When you get to be a world-class anything, whether it's a downhill skier or I guess even you're an inventor, right? Or you're a billionaire. The smarts and the level of expertise are usually right about the same, at the same place, the same level. But the people who win are the ones who risk. And they're also the ones who can see their future. There's a great scripture in the Bible that says, God calls forth those things that be not as though they were. You know, Abraham didn't see himself at all as the father of many nations, of all nations. God saw him as that. And if you can see yourself, you can see the end of where your ideas are going. You can visualize that, then you'll get there. But people like Denzel Washington, one of my favorite interviews, even Telly Savalas, Sting, Peter Gabriel and Eric Clapton, Billy Joel, to mention somebody from Long Island, and John McEnroe. These guys will all tell you that it's hard work. It's just so much hard work. It's just a withering amount of hard work. Even to this time, I mean, I'm going to be 70 years old in July, and I still turn in 36 hours of radio a week and do 20 concerts a year. And now we're working on actually teaching courses and things because it's that if you keep turning things in, you learn more about it. And so you turn in a prototype. Let's use the metaphor for invention, and then you give it to your friends to see what they think, and then you do another one and another one. And when you get in the habit of turning things in, completing things, it's a.
John, when we come up with ideas, your audio's there. When we come up with ideas, there's almost like an emotional feeling that we get, and we're so excited. And like you're saying, you want to keep moving it forward. You want to believe. You're thinking of the big picture. But then there's the other side where you have to put your business cap on, and you have to, again, look at your idea like a business. Is it something that is going to help me with my future? Is it something that's going to make me money? Is it something that I should work on and move forward with? So I know that you have some great advice, even on your channel, on your website. You've interviewed and you've done many different types of shows where it's almost like you look at life and you help us to make better decisions with the tips and advice that you give and inspiration. What do you think? How do you look at that, John? So there's emotion, and then there's making good business decisions or better business decisions. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, I feel like if you get bogged down with business decisions, that it'll destroy your creativity. And people are like, wait a second, someone's going to steal my idea. I say, okay, fine. But I've never been, my wife may disagree, but I've never really been full of myself. I've never really thought I was all that good at anything. And so if you look at my career, if you would come see me live in concert, you'll see the most amazing band you've ever seen, because that's who I hire. And nowadays with the gig economy, you can find attorneys. I just booked for a half hour an attorney. His name is Ian Corzine, who is an expert on NFTs and crypto. I just spent an hour talking to him because he's an expert. There are so many experts out there that can help you. And so now this time for an inventor, there's never been a better time. But I'll also tell you that everything that I've done, whether it was putting together a public television special, starting my own record company that we ended up selling for $11 million, starting this radio show that reaches 7 million people every week still, it has Fortune 500 advertisers. With any of that stuff that I created, I went and found the people who were the best at it, and I cold called them. Either that, or I read their book. One of the first books I ever read was Houdini. As a little kid, all the information is out there, and there's a great book, probably my favorite book to mention today, which is Austin Kleon's "Steal Like an Artist." Steal like an artist, and it's like, wait a second, I don't want to steal anybody's stuff. It's not about that. It's about figuring out what you want to do, and then look at the people who have done that and done that at a high level, and study them, study everything about them, and then try to emulate them. You'll never get there, but you'll get there you'll get far enough as your own person that all of a sudden you'll start absorbing their traits. So for me, it was Rick Wakeman from Yes, the keyboard player, and Oscar Peterson, the great jazz player for in music for announcers. It was actually a guy that's still on the air now in New York, I believe, Chuck Scarborough. When I was a kid, I used to study him. I had all of his tapes, and I would emulate the way the way he spoke, and all of these things, and all of a sudden, when you start emulating all of these people, you'll start seeing everything. You'll start seeing the playing field differently, and that's really what it is with creativity. When you'll see things differently, and then just spending time alone in quiet and listening, and I mean just listening to nothing, listening to birds, meditating. We're always consuming so much stuff. I make this mistake myself, but then when I go for a nice long walk, all of a sudden, like, wait a second, this is really what I should be doing on stage, or this is what I should do on the radio show. When the Intelligence for Your Life was created, when radio stations were full of programs, countdown shows and love songs at night or whatever. And I looked at that playing field and I said, what is it? What am I interested in? I'm interested in curated information, the best information out there from the highest sources. And I'm interested in being on the radio. So I combined those two things and I said, well, if I can hire a staff that will curate what they'll take 5,000 word articles and turn them into 250 words and then surround them with music, it might be a radio show. And we started with my executive producers, Scott Myers and Betsy Chase, on like 5 stations. And we kept testing it, and we would prototype it, and we would change it, and we would add a little bit, and stations would try to sign up, and we said, no, we're not ready yet. Let us continue to tweak it. And so very similar to what I think of what an inventor would come up with.
So for those of you who listen to the radio, and I know that you have it on your website also, which you could share, but all of a sudden, like, there would be a break after the music that you're listening to, and all of a sudden John has Intelligence for your life, different types of inspiration and tips and tricks and all kinds of trendy type of things, and it's really interesting. And you also have the John Tesh show. Is that the same as Intelligence for Your Life?
Yeah, the John Tesh radio show, Intelligence for Your Life, is what it is, and it's on. You can find, if you just go to tesh.com, which is our website. There's a station finder that's in there, and a lot of what we do is we have a mantra that we live. I have to actually have it on my phone here. What does it say? Well, first of all, one of the things we say is, if it doesn't make you better, healthier, happier, or much more interesting, we won't put it on the show. But also this, as I have this as my homepage, what is the direct perceived benefit? That's a question that all of us on this, watching this and broadcasting, should be asking when we create anything. What is the direct perceived benefit of what I'm inventing? What is the direct perceived benefit of doing my radio show? People will pick up a tip that'll make their life better. It's that simple. What's the direct perceived benefit of exercise? Well, you're gonna live longer. So everything that you create, I believe, should be able to answer. You should be able to answer that question. What is the direct perceived benefit? Because what people are looking for now is they're looking to get out of pain, whatever that is, whatever their pain point is. If you're creating something that's interesting, it won't last very long. But if you're creating something that actually gets people out of that cures a pain point for them, and that has benefit for them, and that's that's a huge list of what anybody can create, then you've got something.
We had the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office on a little bit earlier. You use intellectual property, you use copyrights, you use trademarks.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're up the wazoo, as somebody says. Yeah, we're trademarked. I think one of the mistakes, the Intelligence for Your Life brand is trademarked. I mean, all my songs are trademarked. But I think that one of the mistakes I made back in the day was, I get an idea and I was like, let's create a website. Let's go to GoDaddy and go for a website like that. It doesn't guarantee you any success. Just like having a record in the stores doesn't guarantee you any success. It's if the product is great and you're finished, you're done with it, right? And you can send it out there. It will literally sell itself as long as you give it position where it needs to be. Of course, you have to protect everything with trademark and copyright. But yeah, I mean, there's there's still so many opportunities out there because look at just what happened with the pandemic. People who created businesses, for better or for worse, out of that. And there are so many people right now. If you want to know an area that is increased 1,000-fold, it is digital courses. And there are plenty of entrepreneurs and inventors who are listening to us right now, Brian, who are like, okay, well, I got to think of what should I do for right now? Well, while you're coming up with the next big invention, there's probably something that you know how to do that you can teach. And there are platforms like Kajabi and Samcart. I use Samcart, where you can actually start your own course and you can hold it yourself, or you can put it on Teacherific, or you can put it on Udemy, Udemy, and teach what you know. And while you're doing that, you'll have good, consistent passive income while you're creating your next big thing.
Very nice. John, so much to provide us, and thank you for your time. If you can give the audience where we can keep in touch, so they listen to you on the radio, where else can we hear from you, of you? What do you have coming up? How can we be involved in your community? And I know a lot of people here are asking for your book list and just kind of to follow you. So maybe you can give us how to keep in touch.
Yeah, sure. Actually, you can email me. It's pretty simple. It's just john@tesh.com, john@tesh.com. Be happy to send you my I've mentioned some of them, but I'd be happy to send you my favorite books. I do reread these books. One of the books that I'll tell you about real quickly that is sort of a left turn from what we've been talking about. Viktor Frankl wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor. And if you want to sort of reset where you are in your life, which is important as you end up creating things, if you want to reset where you are in your life, read that book. And read my book, Relentless, because you'll get the long version of all these stories we've been talking about.
Great. John, any final words to give the inventors, innovators, entrepreneurs, business owners? Yep,
I do. I'll tell you what I do every day. I did it today. I will do it every day, at least once a day. Sometimes I'm walking, sometimes I'm lifting weights, sometimes I'm on a plane. On the ride over here, I was doing it. There are collections on YouTube. One is called Motivation Hub, and if you just search motivational videos on YouTube, and Motivational Hub is a good one. There are speeches from entrepreneurs, everybody from motivational speaker Les Brown to Tony Robbins and everybody in between, Steve Jobs. Denzel Washington, all these people. There are kids on YouTube who take these speeches and they curate them, and then they put them with really incredible footage and just heavy duty encouraging themes, music themes. And you can just one at a time. You can listen to hundreds of these things. So when you get stuck or you're feeling like, oh gosh, I'm going to go back to my job at Kinko's. You fire that up in your headsets, make a playlist, and it will get you going. It'll reset you in a minute. I know it's like, what, really? Yeah, these motivational videos on YouTube.
And you have to almost make it like it's a habit. You have to make it part of your day. And when things do get to a certain point where you almost have to listen to your own advice, right? You have to kind of stop and say, I want to remember what it was that could help me, and then take action in that step. Otherwise, it just goes in one ear out the other.
Yeah, right? I'll leave you with this, Brian, and thank you for this opportunity. I'll leave you with this. I had the great opportunity for many years. I did a show called One-on-One with John Tesh. It was an interview show that lasted a year on NBC. It was a daytime show, and I mean, I interviewed everybody from Gregory Peck and Betty Davis to, I mentioned Sting and all these guys. There were 3-hour interviews. It was crazy. And when you interview people like that at that level, about an hour in, they start to loosen up, right? And really tell you what's what. And one of my favorites was Mel Gibson. And this was right after he had finished shooting.
Oh, yep, your microphone there.
Happens
There you go.
automatically. When he went to sell the movie Passion of the Christ, we're talking about Mel Gibson, nobody would take it. They weren't interested because he wanted to do it in Aramaic, and it was like, wait, what about you're just going to show the crucifixion? That's it. That's 90% of it. And so he self-funded it, right? Huge risk, and on a much smaller scale. There was a risk I took at the Red Rocks Amphitheater, which ended up starting my record career, inspired by him. But anyway, I was asking him. I said it was raining and there was lightning during a lot of the shooting, and I said, dude, how did you get through that? I mean, you were not only funding it, but you're also the director. And he said, John, I spoke to myself. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah, I spoke to myself all day. I said, can you tell us what it was that you said? He said, well, it's pretty private. I said, come on, tell me what it is you said. He said, I said to myself, you know how to do this. You can do this. You know how to do this. And so when cameras would break, when actors would get sick, when deadlines were gone and the bank is calling him and everything, I know how to do this. I know how to do this. And so when you're at the level that you are, when you're watching this video and you know how to invent, you know how to create, you know how to promote, when things get tough, that's your spoken word. Proverbs 18:21 says, death and life are in the power of the tongue. The death and life of your career and the power of your tongue. And so your next mantra is, I can do this. I know how to do this.
Excellent. John, thank you for your time, your inspiration, your wisdom, your continuous advice, and everything that you do on the radio. It's just so much fun to hear you, and just something that just you didn't think about until all of a sudden it's like, okay, you know what? John's got some pretty good things out. I'm going to follow what he says. So thank you again. You could go to tesh.com, easy enough.
Yeah.
And you could do like I did. You have a subscriber list on there, so I can keep in touch with what you have going on.
Absolutely.
And there's all videos and very interesting things on his website. John, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thanks.
And keep on inventing.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thanks. Okay, and for those of you who joined us tonight, thank you very much. And for the premium members, you can find your link in your email to join us for the after meeting networking event. And remember, February 24th, February 24th, we have ThomasNet. So if you're looking for local resources in the US for manufacturing, finding different products, services that are in the US, they are going to help us with going through and navigating the Thomas registry that's online at thomasnet.com. So very exciting guest. There are other guests that I have coming up for 2022. I'm really excited about. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and keep on inventing. Have a great night.